Good afternoon. Welcome to another podcast from Traders Community. Welcome all those traders out there, investors, punters, and of course the dribblers. Hope everyone's had a good day, not too harrowing. Massive 40-year inflation numbers out today. A little bit of deja vu from Brainard to put the cat amongst the pigeons. They seem to be playing a bit of whack-a-mole with these stock prices. So just a reminder that it's not financial advice, just a couple of traders sharing our views and ideas from what we see and what other desks around the nation and the globe are seeing. So I have the glorious Madhavi here, sharing his wisdom. Been a couple of good days. We had a bit of a break over the weekend. Different things going on, conferences. We're headed into Easter week this week, so more family is the focus this week. And all the best for everyone. So the market's pretty well played, as we expected and anticipated. If you recall last week, we had all that trouble on the S&P and Nasdaq at major levels. But the 200 to 100 as we cited, so it was a pretty straightforward short as far as the indexes go. Oil held those major levels and we're bounced back over 100. Natty continued from that break. There's a little bit of feedback coming through there, mate, from your trading room. A little bit.
All right.
So that's all played out rather nicely. We had a couple of good stock plays over the last few days. We'll go through them. Tomorrow, the earnings season starts with JP Morgan, and pretty well what Jamie Dimon says tomorrow will probably be a big indicator for the market. We also have PPI coming out, the other side of CPI coming out this week. It's Good Friday on Friday, so a lot of markets are shut come Friday around the world. So you'd probably notice a lot of options expire on the 14th. So I hope everyone planned for that. We also have Delta out tomorrow, and someone else big is also reporting tomorrow. So BlackRock, that's correct. So they're the second biggest fund manager, I believe, in the world, asset manager. I think Fidelity is the biggest. So lots of good going on. So here we are, oil's trading at 101. We did have the API report out a few minutes ago. Did have a bigger build than expected. But obviously it's more other factors influencing that. The S&P's closed, the S&P index, that is not futures, is 4402, just over 4,400. The Russell was over 2,000 for quite a bit today, but finished back under it. Natural gas got almost to $7, $6.94 and change high. Now $69.40, $669.40. Nasdaq got up for a while, but back under 14,000. And volatility was all the way down again to 2320 on the VOLX. And we ran about 2 points from that, so to close just under 25. Okay, let's start off with the SPOOs. So as I mentioned, the SPOOs, and so that's the whole point. You have a strategy and you're comfortable with it. And so what was kind of funny, we jumped on Twitter a little bit today, and we got a lot of questions about dribblers. What is a dribbler and all that? And I think the people get the message now. Why we mention it, why we say it, so to categorize who to listen to, who not to listen to, etc. Because at the end of the day, it's your own decision, and you want to have a plan. And dribblers are just notoriously well. So jump on the Twitter. There's some funny little comments there. So anyway, so the dribblers are going to be the opposite, pretty well what you want to be. What did we do? So on the weekly, we closed very nicely at the Cajun. Now recall last week, the reversal all came out with Lil Brainard last Tuesday. Lo and behold, she's out today. Same thing happened. So interesting comments was the market ignored high CPI because the core was lower than expected by a thing. The reality is it's 40% inflation. It's probably peaking given how high it is and the destruction of demand and how high it is actually affecting. Anyway, regardless, at this point, we held on to that weekly Tenkan, which is just above the cloud here. So that's what's going on. We know the two very simple scenarios here, right? I don't think we need to go through that. Daily, this is one of those easier trades. We broke back through that Tenkan and we have not looked back. And lo and behold, the daily Cajun is the same as the weekly. So big levels you need to watch, right? So let's look on what we did. So basically, on the 240 here, you can see it's been a short since plus 28 spits, and we've gone 1, 2, 3, as you can see on the hourly. So we dribbled all the way down. Appropriate word given the dribblers are all over this on the other side, right? Of course, they're never wrong. So we had this spike down, and then we in that last session, see the false break, and then we closed up above it. But look what it did. So this movement, actually, probably better if I show a 5-minute, mate. So 5-minute, which we use it 2 time frames here, depending on for those Murray math people, we use a 512 and a 128 for the speed of the market, and we look for confluence. So we got plus 2/8. This would have been a 5/8, I would imagine, and we can look at it later on 2 minutes. But anyway, that's what we're trading off. We started coming down. We had a nice bounce, and then Lael Brainard, do we call it Bryle? Came out and bang, it was just a straight short. Basically, we held it all day till we got down here. So this was also minus 3/8 on the 518, sorry. So real easy straight trade, and I think we both. And when Madavi talks about Nasdaq, he saw the same thing there. So pretty easy day, really. The Dow is just chopping. Now you see a lot of the Dow components because it has more that. It has a combination of the tech, obviously, that's getting crushed, the Apple and all that. But it also has things like Coca-Cola. So it's more midstream there. Okay, let's look at the Nasdaq and bring Madavi on. So here's the daily. So this is where we left you guys last week. 1, 2, 3, even more. Look at all those pure red days on the Nasdaq. Okay, let's look at today. There you go, mate.
Yeah. Well, on the Nasdaq, believe it or not, I did my first trade. Like when the Nasdaq sold off, we were only up 10. So that's when I started getting into it because I wasn't sure. I didn't have a clear picture what today was going to look like. I was really bearish in the morning, then it was up, so I decided not to trade it. Then when I got a confirmation that we were going to sell off, that's when I sold it. I think the NQs were up like 10 points, 10, 12 points. And I got short and just basically wrote it down until the end of the day and covered.
Yeah, it was pretty straightforward. I mean, it was pretty easy once we'd seen that. The technical aspect, but just fundamentals when Brainard basically confirmed, basically saying, we did have inflation, you dickheads. Basically is what she said. She would have said it a lot nicer like that. That's my best interpretation of it. But seriously, so then it's kind of like it's almost got to be told. Then it starts selling off, and then everyone focused on it. Then we had a really, really poor 10-year auction. We gave it an F across the desk here, and I'd be struggling to give it better. And that followed, and what a day to have a 10-year on an inflation number like that, right? So higher yields. And don't forget the 10-year is the benchmark, right? That's what most business and a lot of the... So mortgages 20, 30 years or 30 year in the US. But around the world, sometimes it's yearly. Sometimes it's 10, right? So significant. So that was a double whammy. Brainard, then that. Perhaps at a point, with high inflation, I know the argument is that it goes up. Stocks get in favour. So right now we have extreme bearishness. We do know that, but you need good news or a squeeze for that to reverse. So enough about that, really. So the other thing is, well, I guess we should bring the chart up on the Russell.
Oh no, you got a mouse.
So there we hear breaking news, everyone, live from Helmet, that kicked out of his house, live. So Helmet, for those who don't know, lives across the road from Meta Johnny. So there we're breaking news. So the Russell, last week, if you can remember, spat the big weekly we were looking at last few days. It's tried to create a bounce, and it failed again. So it's back under 2,000. So let's move on. I think the weekly is good enough there. It pretty well says it all. There's your daily. You can see the double split. We've just worked our way down. We actually got up to over 2,000 today, and it gave you a great short there as it retested the Cajun, the 50, and it's all under the Tankard. So that's pretty textbook technical for those trading that, which you should all at least watch. It's not a fun. I don't particularly care for it too much to trade. Okay, where have I got the bonds holding out? Okay, so this is the yield. The 10-year yield. This is the May contract. So look at this. So we got up almost to 285, and we closed down near the highs of the day, believe it or not, 274 on the bonds, the lows of the yields. But look where that's going. We are pretty extended. We said last week when it broke this, your targets were 8/8. We've already done that. Then 1/8, we've done that. And plus 2/8 is still a huge chance, obviously. So that's what's going on. Look at how it's counting it out. For those that don't think bonds are technical, they're one of the most technical markets it is because it's pure. Like the big FX market, they're pure, right? And you have your best traders in the world trade this stuff. Not dribblers do not survive. And this, I'll talk about it, but I ain't ever seen one in the bond pit. So keep that in mind. Okay, let's go through our stocks. This one was a bit of a beauty today. Exxon, strong day, opened up, sold off at the end, a bit of profit taking, and profit making. ARC V, we heard Kathy Woods, and I think that's why Helmet got kicked out of the house. He was sticking up for Kathy. And we'll ask, Johnny lives across the road, he heard the screaming. But we heard that she was on CNBC. Looks like the interview probably wasn't the time to do it because it was on at the end of the day, but a big reversal there as well. NVIDIA, we're going to go through these quick because given we haven't been on for a while, NVIDIA just sold off all day. It did have a spike in there somewhere. Yeah, see that? So what's happening is the punters will jump on it because they want momentum. The dribblers, this is probably a dribbler. It's a bit of a different one for those that definition, but if they bought it, it was up here. Fubu is a great dribbler stock that we love to short all the time. That's in the Dirty Dozen. Sold off all day back to 568. What else did we look at, boys? Apple's one this is a 30-minute chart. Look at this little thing. So this must have been pre-market. I didn't see it down here at 162. But it was down there, evidently. Most of the day we saw it bounced up. Well, that's quite the bloody move. So that would have been the EU talk before when I was getting my beauty sleep. But anyway, we ran from basically 165 up to 169, and then we came back in a perfect ABC. So we'll see what this does today and tomorrow, tonight and tomorrow. So ADA's one that we had fun with after hours. So this is one we watch. This is a classic dribbler stock, would you not say, Madavi?
Oh, for sure.
It's an X-SPAC. It does all that. There's a lot of people holding there's multiple bag holders on this. So it averages hard, and it has these great moves, and it trades very, very well technically. You can see it pop. So this one we noticed wasn't going down when everything was going down. So we watched that after the market, and it popped up nicely right to plus 2H, which gave a good shorting opportunity. But you'll see a lot of, and you just got to be tight on shorts, and we'll show you a stock in a minute why about that. So Walmart is the antithesis of Apple. That got as high as 158. So we're working your contrarian plays. Where does this pull back to? You can see 148, 150 is a reasonable target. The breakout was here. It did test it at 146, but that would be your target on the downside of that. So the one we're going to look at. So this was one that was this was truly some glorious trading yesterday by the great man on this one. So I'm going to bring it up. And so today it's a great example of punters versus dribblers, right? And I'll explain that in a sec. It's very important to know what's going on and not be affected by the wank of it all. And that's another reason where the term dribbler comes from, just full of wank and all that. So yesterday, this company, Varus, which many of you would have been familiar with, this was one of those great punter ones that just goes hard. Then dribblers find a reason to hold it. At the end of the day, most of these stocks are overvalued. Most of these stocks need money. So the punters jumped on this because of some COVID news, if I remember. So that came out, made some statements. And this was just some beautiful trading you had to see to be done by the big fella on this one. And you can see what happened, right? So what happens is a lot of this is obviously short squeezing. Then fresh buying comes in up or here. Look what it did technically. Minus 3/8 to over plus 3/8, right?
So you got one, I got another one of those.
So we came down here. Plus 3/8 spit, and then this was shortable all the way here, so it gave some great shorts. Look at these spikes. So you knew it was a two-way battle. So this is punter versus dribbler. The punter grabs it. He's not in it for the long haul, smashes these people out of the way. The dribbler falls in love. He's not scared. So remember, I've said many a time, the only reason you want to buy a bloody stock is because there's shorts. You got to get destroyed because there's a reason why they short it. Sure enough, and it was a beautiful short back down here for $5. So this is a great trading stock, but this is a punting stock.
It was great this morning too.
Yeah. And it's,
yesterday I had a couple of good stocks like that. I mean, you had Twitter.
Yeah, Twitter was another one. So look at this, how perfectly this measures out mathematically, punters. This is a great punter stock.
BI. Yesterday, Billy or something.
What was that one?
BIL.
Oh, Billy? No, Billy's not the one.
There
is a BILI, but that's not the one.
VERTU. What?
We're going to talk about that when we talk about energy stocks. Twitter was another great one. So this is a great example of dribbler versus punter and traders. Investors are like, you're shitting me, right? A stock like this. Guys don't make money. It's got no concept of fair play, so anyone knows you've already pissed off half the country, etc. So, but if we look at a daily chart, you can see what happened to this little bugger. So Elon, as I said when we went through this move a week ago, I was pretty convinced he was trolling them. And lo and behold, I'm pretty 100% sure that's what happened. So we get that move. The second move is, Elon's going to join our board. Elon says, you know what? I ain't joining that board. For obvious reasons. And it was always doubtful that he was, as we surmised at our last podcast. Because Why would he? Right? But what he did find out was how they operated, all that, and he realized it handcuffed him. Of course, the pro-Elon fans are going to say, yeah, he's got what he wanted out of it. Now he's got control. The anti-Elons, it's just vitriol all the time. They hate the bloke. There's always always something about it. End result, who really cares? We don't know. We're not Elon Musk. We're not Twitter. And it's all subjective. It's pure dribbler feedstock. Anything to do with that, right?
No way of space.
What we do know is they sold it hard, right? And look where it got down to 42 from 55. The dribblers who love all this, they go on about bloody DFI and all this bullshit. So at the end of the day, you got to make money, you got to have market share, you got to be sellable to the market, right? And you got to have cash. So that was why I kind of went hard on that view, and it worked out nicely. So this was another one. There was a glorious trade yesterday. This big move up because it got oversold, right? Because think about it another way. Because this happened on the weekend, so we open up. What it does mean, if Elon Musk does say, you know what, I kind of like that company for whatever reason, we don't know. As I said, we're not him, but what we do know, pointedly, by not being a director, he can have more than 15% or 14.9% of the company. He's not attuned to the same regulations that a director is. He already knows that because he's been hauled across the board a number of times at the SEC over stuff on Tesla. Right, exactly.
Everybody sold it off. I bought it at 52.80 and rode it all the way up.
42.80, my friend. Yeah, you killed it. You had one of your best days I've seen. I've known you for a long. No, we don't say how long because
it needs to be like that every day.
Yeah, we're still teenagers. We don't want to say how long we've been mates for. But so anyway, it's sold off nicely back down there again, right? So with the tech, so here correction today it went back into being a tech stock. But look what it ran into up here. All this supply, which the cloud points out, false breaks. So there's a lot of God, this is what really got me with the dribblers was people thinking, just misreporting what Ichimoku and all that work done was. Here it's for your eyes. You can see what it does visually. So, and that's why we're working in with Murray. But yeah, that was an awesome trade. And so let's move on to energy while we think of some of the other So basically when the S&P's not good to trade, doesn't give you good signals, you just don't trade it. Oil's doing the same thing, don't trade it, right? Or whatever you trade. And so we tend to move towards what's moving, what's got some volume, the punter stock, right? And often on days like, and I pointed this out, we went to Twitter on this one, and it wasn't too cryptic, that when we're at those highs, that it's a good probability sell on the S&P and Nasdaq, as you know, that's when you smack those dribbler stocks back down because you know the dribblers living in total hope, total denial, and so you smack them. So a good one I saw today was Path was getting whacked again. That old faithful Palantir getting whacked again, even though that's tiring down. The dope stocks were all off pretty handedly as well. Fubu we just shared. And there was an old dribbler energy dribbler that one of our good friends, the legendary man himself, introduced to this stock about 18 months ago called IO. It's a Houston kind of, they're in the energy sector, but they're a data provider. We noticed it was around 56 cents or something today, right, Madavi? Got to hold it. So they're in chapter 11. But that was one of our... So when the dribblers enter the energy sphere, they tend to go for these stocks, oh, well, this shouldn't be this low. And then you look at it, yeah, well, there's a reason. And lo and behold, it's down there. So we're interested to see how that plays out. But we'll look at a stock of that. I guess we should look at that chart if we're talking about it. But this gives you a good idea. I don't know. Is it back open? Let's have a look. So this was one. So, and the reason we talk about this is A, because it actually went to Chapter 11. And so a lot of people don't think this actually happens. But so if we look at this on a daily basis.
Well, Chapter 11 is a good thing, you know, if you know how to work it. I mean, look at Donald Trump. There's not bankruptcy.
Did he ever go personally or just his company? So that's a good example.
Personally in the 90s, but I know he did a bunch of companies. I can't say the personal 100%, but I believe after the mess he created with Taj Mahal, New Jersey, I think everything was bankrupt.
Oh, he's a master of bankruptcy. So let's look at this stock weekly. So most of us in Houston pretty well know this company, right? And so they kept paying overs for a lot of things. So this was a 17, 18. It just dribbled all the way down. I'm pretty sure they probably did secondaries. I don't know for sure, but we know they're always cash poor. And a lot of their stuff. So what happened? So when they destroyed, this is why. If you want to know why the energy sector just treats the United States president with total disdain and his party, is because they laughed and death rode energy when all that bad stuff was happening, negative, hoped all these people went broke. So here's an example of a casualty of that. So this was a service a lot of energy companies had. They map, seismic drilling, geology, all that sort of stuff, right? So, of course, this was the first to get go and people get bankrupt. So here's a casualty of that. That's probably no one even knows about, unexpected consequences. Anyway, a lot of these sort of companies did become favourites for dribblers for whatever reason. This one was a rumour of Google buying them out and all this sort of stuff. Anyway, you can see how it just dribbled down. So as Madavi said, maybe it gets a second chance by going into...
well, look at Hertz.
Yeah.
Hertz is fine.
Well, the difference with Hertz, though, Hertz is a global brand and cars, but perhaps these guys, from what I know, have good products and stuff. I'm not a geologist, but obviously in the industry.
Hertz, and Hertz is going to discharge billions. This guy might do 100 million.
Yeah. So there's some interesting story. So keep an eye on it. Also be aware that a lot of these debt-ridden companies, so this isn't a driller. That's why I wanted to bring it up, right? It's nothing to do with that. But a lot of these debt-ridden companies may take advantage of Chapter 11. Interest rates are going up. They can spend, well, you know what, we ain't borrowing at these levels, etc., etc. So that's just one example.
They used stimulus money to repurchase their shares.
Who did?
A lot of corporations, instead of hiring people to stimulate the economy, that
was 2008 banking stuff.
Yeah, that's so.
They're investigating that right now.
Yeah,
14 years ago. That's a joke.
No, right now. They're investigating it right now.
Yeah, for 14 years ago that's happened.
No, for the most recent round.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Yeah, well, here's the thing of a lot of energy companies. They weren't even getting loans. Remember, you had the current U.S. government recommend a woman to become a governor of the U.S. Federal Reserve, and her big, we've mentioned this many times, her name's Raskin. Her big thing was you should not lend to fossil fuel companies. Right when, in the same week where he's saying all these energy surges are all because of U.S. oil companies. It's like, oh, okay. Now, the sad thing is there's a large enough percentage of, because of the way partisan politics runs America now, who probably think that's fact and gospel, right? Just stupidity. So, I mean, maybe these guys, I don't know what went on with these guys, but we're just using it as an example. So you mentioned BTU. Well, let's backtrack. Let's look at energy so it all makes sense to everyone. So energy today, natural gas had a triple top. We've talked about this ad nauseum. We said this was a 3 or 5. And then on the daily, this was just a great break. I hope everyone got on it. Punters, investors, traders, dribblers alike. This was a pretty well straightforward one. Dribblers more than likely bought this and stopped out here. Sad but true. Anyway, up we go. This is a triple top. This was 2014. This is what we got over. We tested it. Remember at the end of last year. We tested again last week. Lo and behold, through it this week. It's Natgas. So if we look at this now on a, I don't know why that keeps doing that. But anyway. So where's our so that's Natgas weekly. So that's longer term, what we wanted to show you. And the coal thing fits into this in a minute, Johnny. That's why I wanted to show that. So remember this coal switching and all that, alternative sources. So basically what's gone on with ESG policies in Europe, ESG policies here, it's killed production and all that. And you know, everyone knows about Germany. They got rid of their bloody nuclear, Fukushima, no plan. Now they're beholden to Russia, etc., etc. We don't need to go on about that. But then fast forward, we then get the United States president. Don't worry about it. We'll send you our bloody LNG. America's going, hang on. What about us? We need energy too. So that's where we're at. So here we are. Boom. So if you are a working class American, a middle class American, a desolate American, or a filthy rich American, you probably need energy, right? If you're driving your fancy EV car that's subsidized, or you're driving your diesel truck trying to get to work, you probably need energy. So look what's happened. $3.40 to $7 in this little time frame. And this, my friends, this has nothing to do with the war in Ukraine and Russia, because look what this got it going again. But this is long before this is before even the saber rattling and all this. Look at this. So that's your Natgas. Okay. Now out today, we had the EIA out with their SDO. If you're not from energy markets, you probably need to learn about these. Come out every month, short-term energy reports. And that's all. So there is hope of production, but and all that sort of thing. So anyway, technically, look what it did. This was a class walk trade. For those that don't think Nova Wave works, or this shit works technically. Geez, I'm swearing a lot today. Sorry about that. Been around some
truck drivers.
Truck drivers and aggressive people.
Yeah.
That helmet that lives across the road from you, Johnny. Aggressive little man. Anyway, we move on. Look at this classic stuff, right? So that's all you got to do is you know where you're wrong, and look what it did when it retested this. Remember, we walked you through this last week. So hopefully everyone got on this and did well. The key was, if you don't trade natural gas futures, that's probably a good thing, but you can trade other things, which is what Meta Johnny alluded to. So we're all well familiar with the stocks, energy stocks we trade, Exxon and CPO, who else? Oxy from the oil sector, and they're also oil. Don't forget, for natural gas, Exxon are monsters, Chevron are monsters, right? Then you got your FANGs, you got your smaller ones, your EQT, your SWN, which is one of our favorites when it was a cheapie. I think at 480 we started talking about it here. It's over $8 today. Anyway, the other big one is coal. So why do we talk about coal? Energy, switching, right? So we are going to look at BTU is the main one. There's also Arch Coal from the US market. Now, look, we all know coal is a dirty thing and we shouldn't have had it. We've had a multitude of governments that should have done better with it. But, you know, at the end of the day, none of us are preachers. We like to think we're being touched by the hand of God, but it's probably more Maradona for the soccer fans out there. Anyway, I digress. This is what you're doing. You're trading and investing. So you need to be aware of this. So BTU, with the laws, is limited to how much they can still mine. But so that makes it, or produce, however you want to put it, very limited. With natural gas, you don't have many sources with energy. You have natural gas, you have renewables, which is wind and solar, which is limited, right? It's great that they got 10%, but what about the other 90%, right? So I love all that, you know. It's just there's no common sense for those That cracked the mention in the dribbler discussion, I think. Anyway, that is why this is driven, and there's so many shorts on this because of the short-term nature potentially of BTU and Arch Coal and all that. And there's a lot of people just don't buy this because of ESG. Fair enough, if that's your there's a lot of funds that just don't invite, like a lot of funds don't buy smoking stocks or whatever, or weed stocks or whatever. Anyway, keep an eye on this one as a trade. This is BTU both ways. These trade both ways. They trade with natural gas prices. They trade with coal prices, right? Look at this pump just on when we told you about natural gas, right? Look at this, 23.50. You've had these. This is why they go both ways. Do not fall in love with this. Do not be a dribbler and say, oh. Either way, trade it. If you're a trader, this is certainly a punter's one. They jump on this because it does come across all the desks because of the sheer volatility of it. It reaches a lot of option desks as well. So look at these three highs. Look at these three triples. Huh?
Hey, real quick, what do you think about GUSH? I've been using that as kind of a benchmark for.
I have never traded it. I've never traded it. It's an ETF. Yeah. But I've never traded it. So UNG is a boring one. It's pretty popular with Natty. There's cold, which I've traded both boil and cold. And we've talked about that before. But cold's the negative one. So rates going down. Boil's rates going up. Rates, I'm talking about natural gas rates. I think I've talked about it here once, did some options on cold. I think I was the only bugger doing it. Massive wide spreads, and it was at boil. One of the two. One and done is all I got to say about that. So let's look at GUSH. So I would imagine, I haven't looked much into this. Given that it's called GUSH, it implies that it's an oil ETF, but it may well be an energy one. I really don't know.
Yeah. S&P is 2 times.
No, I understand that, but I'm not sure if it's oil, because a gush usually refers to a gush as an oil term, right? So I don't know if it's oil and natural gas. So just looking at it today, we know that oil basically is up from 93, 92 last week with all that S&P stuff. Right now it's 101. So just today's price action, this isn't mirroring oil. Oil went pretty well straight up, and oil didn't fall back $10, either did natural gas. So I'm not sure what it's mirroring. If you want to do it while we're looking at these charts, if we want to have a quick look and see what's in this. This looks like one for the punters, this one.
Does it?
Oh, yeah. I mean, because it's not really... Look at what I just looked on daily. Look at this move. So oil's near the high of the day right now, right? And look at this. It spiked up and crapped itself. Now, Natty's off quite away from its high. So I don't know. I really don't know. But it looks like once it gets going, then it does all this. These moves are $20. This is a $20 move. Yeah. This is one for the punter. This would be hard to trade. I mean, if you're a trader, you're better off trading the liquid oil index stocks, the Natty or oil futures. This stuff, to me, is just... I mean, it's a pure punt. But not in... I mean, it's all a punt, right, really? But, yeah. I mean, and it's a double, you said? So maybe... If we look back at that, let's just look at today. So, what was that, mate?
If you feel the need for speed, get in GUSH.
Yeah, exactly. And then go see your psychiatrist at the end of the day. I would. So you can see.
Or the bankruptcy attorney.
Right. So what it looks like, it gapped up with oil, right? So oil had this big move up. And then sold off all day. The point I'm trying to make is oil didn't fall from 187 to 178 today. It went up from... this is a positive one, right? Is this a negative or positive?
That's a bull.
Yeah, that's what I thought I was about. Because it's trading like a bear one. But so the high was, and oil stayed up all day, right? It's not far of its high. Natty got up near 7 and fell down. So I'd like to see the thing, but it may be a good take the other side. Market makers would probably have fun in this, I would suggest. Looking at this, the punters and dribblers, boom.
Short investor.
What's the symbol on it? GUSH?
GUSH.
See.
Yeah, it's typically it's not a buy and hold. It's one of those.
All right, this is what it is. It's daily S&P oil and gas exploration bull times 2.
Oh, so it's an exploration. So it looks like it goes up with the futures at the open and then falls with exploration stocks, maybe something like that. But I can tell you a lot of those stocks are on their highs. Some of them did fall off near the end of the day. So
you see it, Nick?
Oh, did you put it up?
I gave it to you on your single.
Oh, okay. So it's a great question, though. Great question. I give you the tip.
It's $4 up. I mean, this thing could be traded. This is going to be a nice one.
Good, especially if you don't know the oil and gas technicalities, and you.
That sounds right here.
But mate, my point is, it goes against bloody oil and gas. Put that up against. I would have to look what this is. I give you a tip. I give you a tip, Johnny. Don't let your mate Helmet trade this. He will be banging his desk. He'll be running through walls. So yeah, USO and UNG are traditional ones. You got your doubles like so this is it says exploration, so that's a different, that means specifically not producer. So that's probably what's happened here.
This is what it is, mate. If you listen, he'll tell you right now.
Yeah.
CXP and prod full 2x shares GUSH Direxion daily S&P oil and gas EXP and prod full 2x shares. Yahoo partners with Morningstar, a leading market research and investment data group, to help investors rate and compare funds on Yahoo Finance. The Morningstar category is shown next to the Morningstar style box, which identifies a fund's investment focus based on the underlying securities in the fund. While the investment objectives stated in a fund's prospectus may or may not reflect how the fund actually invests, the Morningstar category is assigned based on the underlying securities in each portfolio. Morningstar categories help investors and investment professionals make meaningful comparisons between funds. The categories make it easier to build well-diversified portfolios, assess potential risk, and identify top-performing funds.
Okay, I think we got it.
And the portfolio statistics and compositions over the.
So it's basically not all pure gas. It could be other companies. These are mediums. So these are the medium companies, mate. If you go look at the website.
Yeah, it's all exploration.
That's why you're not getting a full. It's not mimicking oil and gas exactly, just because they're different medium-sized companies.
Well, so what it looks like is that initial thrust was on oil being up and natural gas being up, and so punters got into it who aren't well versed, and the pros said, "Hang on, dude, what you just said, this isn't oil and gas," and then sold it off. That's a pretty good sell. Be interesting if you can short it. It might be considered high risk, but we'll see. You probably can. Okay, I think let's have a look at what crypto's been doing. So crypto has been trading technically very perfect. So if you remember, it did this triple spit, which is a very typical and something highly, highly speculative. Basically, it catches people. This is very coldish, as you know, with things like crypto. I mean, these sort of things are the only things I've ever seen where someone buys them for like 50,000, argument's sake. It's trading at 10. And I think, oh, it's even cheaper, better opportunity. But no, mate, you've just lost 40 grand. Oh, no, it doesn't matter. It's going to go higher. So you see that same mentality permeates the dribbler world, right? They own all these stocks at triple top and they just assume it's going to go back there. The same thing happened in all the other bubbles. So, but anyway, so you can see that triple top. and it would traded very nicely off there. It was right at the top of the cloud. This is a weekly chart. If this is the mighty Bitcoin, and you can see all it's done is fall with the Nasdaq. And I think Johnny pointed that out a couple of months ago. This thing mimics the Nasdaq, right? So that's that. The other thing to remember is the how Ethereum's doing so much better. And why is that? Remember, Johnny, you wrote an article on this.
Yeah, it's because of the merge going.
There you go, the merge, right? And so those that doubt it, that's a really good article. If it's on the website there. But look how much stronger this is versus. So look at this. I guess what I should do this. Let's put them up against each other.
They're very, very similar.
Not really. You can see how since the merge, how much stronger Ethereum is to Bitcoin. So look, just simple. Look where they are relative to the cloud. Look how Ethereum got up to the Cajun. Bitcoin got nowhere near it, right? Look at on this pullback, Ethereum has held the Tenkan. These are time like for like, right? These are apples and oranges. And look at this through the Tenkan. So that tells you that Ethereum is so much stronger than Bitcoin, right?
Right. The use and everything about it is, and it's really funny is that right now there was just that big Bitcoin convention, and so Kathy Wood, your favorite girl,
I'm still laughing at that one. That dickhead from the dribbler extraordinaire was there he called Warren Buffett a sorry to interrupt, you just reminded me, and Madavi saw that. He called Madavi what did he call him? Something old man and
No, it's Kathy Woods. Could you call
No. Oh, that was today. No, but the
Sessions is that the one you're talking about, Kathy Woods?
No, not today. Last week, the dribbler was at it from that Palantir company. He called Buffett all these abusive things.
He called the old grandpa, the evil grandpa.
Yeah.
Nobody wanted over.
And he had no concept. Yeah. Like nice stuff. The same thing happened to Kathy Woods today. They got into her too, didn't they? Said she was too old. But anyway.
You have no successions. Wow, they're shaming her.
And here's an idea about you want to talk about misogyny. So they laud Warren Buffett. He's 20 years older. I'm not a fan of these people, as you know. But you have to say, because she's a woman, 20 years younger, it's extraordinary, really, how they pick and choose how the media responds to it. But anyway, sorry, Johnny, I interrupted you. Go on about your Bitcoin conference, buddy.
Oh, it's just that there was a lot of different sentiments that came out of it, and the one is that it seems as though as we know, the community is getting larger and more like the momentum is getting behind it, where it's going to be very, very hard to stop. Some of the interviews I listened to and the way that people really feel about the current monetary system and the ease of getting money to and from different places because of the Ukraine, the war, and all this. It was just a lot of interesting conversation went on, and you see that there's really, it's going to be very hard to control it, I think, in a way, because it's been classified as an asset. And we'll just see what plays out with it.
Who classifies it as an asset?
The whole thing is we need to go to one of those conferences. We can get the vibe of all these really, really cathartic, Bitcoin people.
I gotta say though, I don't think I could go near the plethora, the deluge of dribblers at something like that would just be overwhelming. I think it would just be. Don't you think?
I think it'd be kind of actually interesting.
It could be interesting, but mate, I can only take so much of the dribble. All jokes aside, there's obviously good uses and all that for it, but the absolute, like I said, it just reminded me of the dribbler, like the mentality that everyone's going to do it. It's my way or the highway. You're all fools if you don't believe it. Much like certain political parties, right? Yeah. But I think that merge thing, So at the end of the day, what's relevant with the merge is if it brings the cost down, it actually has a true value there. When it's just not worth, when it's just so ultra expensive. And don't forget, cost is real. We talked about it yesterday when I had to buy Freon. Freon punters has gone from $68 from a little cylinder, same as your gas cylinder on your barbecue size, $68 to $400. Now that's a common thing in it. Now it's not, so it's refrigerant. You're not allowed to use Freon anymore, so you use what's called Furon, which is the environmental friendly one. It does not last forever like Freon did, unless you had a pipe break or something. This one actually runs out. So that's a lot of money to a normal household or a standard household. $400 from $60. So just think about that. So I'm thinking that, and we're not hurting. Just imagine if you got a... So I saw McDonald's, someone said they're going to accept it. Okay, so my $3 burger now becomes a $25 burger. Yeah, okay. So just think about who eats at McDonald's anyway. It's, as a general rule, it's low income, right? Convenient and that sort of thing. So yeah. So I'm a long way gone from that reality, a dribbler. And I've noticed, so it's just if you want to look at the map where Houston is and how far the border, and you've probably all seen things like Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad. Cash is still king in that environment, if you get my drift, without putting myself too deep in a hole there. But yeah, what I do like about the whole thing, all jokes aside, brilliant minds in the tech side attached to it, right? But when I saw one of those master dribblers, Madavi, making those comments last week, I was just like, oh my God. Do you not know when to shut up, right?
Proof of stake helps with the cost, with the energy concerns and a lot of other things. But you also have to remember all the competition coming in, going after Ethereum because of their gas fees and costs. So,
well, isn't part of the reason the merge is so people are looking forward to is because it's going to bring down those costs?
Yeah, it will. But there's actual companies that are out there that will have zero gas fees. Right. So you can't really compete with zero gas fees.
No.
And networks that are faster or just as fast.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, and remember a lot. So how about, I mean, I don't know. I got to be convinced a lot as far as mass use of the thing. It's going to be interesting what Jamie Dimon has tomorrow. That'll be a question to put for him because he's been very, remember he hated Bitcoin. And now they're moving towards where they actually have funds and all that with crypto and all that. So it'll be interesting if he mentions it, if people bring it up. You would think they would, given they're the largest bank. But that'll be interesting what happens there. Okay, so we're gonna have a little bit look at FX. So the US dollar has gone vertical for 9 days. Now, the main reason is interest rates. So the biggest thing in currencies, in the major currencies, so you got to divide them between major and minor. The major currencies is only these, and they're all these against the US dollar. So there's the Japanese yen, the euro. We have them every week on the thing. British pound, Australian dollar, Swiss franc, and who did I miss? So euro, Swiss franc, British pound from Europe, Japanese yen, Australian dollar. So they're your major currencies, and Canadian dollar, sorry. They're considered the majors. So there's that group. Then you got your emerging markets, and that's into different tiers that goes in that, from around the world. Anyway, if you're trading currencies, you got to look at them all differently. And that's why, because there are a lot of comments about the US dollar's vertical. So that's the US dollar index. So that is made up of a multitude of different currencies. That's why I wanted to mention the majors. So the Canadian dollar. So remember, this up, it's an inverse, means dollar up, down, means Canadian dollar now. Now look at this. The Canadian dollar, the low was up here. 137. Now it's down to 135. So it's not on highs there. Now, Canadian dollar got wrecked because of its political situation versus other majors, and because they were energy independent, they're not. The Australian dollar has been on a tear, pretty obvious, commodities, right? Now, and kangaroo skins being sold to Russia for warmth or something. Is that what you're going to say? To the military. Anyway, the RBA, unlike a lot of banks, goes out of they don't want the Aussie dollar up, so they do their best way and they actively manage it and all that sort of thing. So there you got that. The Japanese yen, and this is one I've harped on about. So you see a pattern here, right? The dollar yen, the yen is at the weakest level it's been for a multitude of years, right? If I was to expand this out, you would see even more. Now notice the difference. So all that move in the dollar, you can nearly put it all down to the dollar yen. Look at this. So remember what this is. And this is why there are assets still being accumulated by the wealthy and players. So think about that. So this is a carry trade. Interest rates are not going up in Japan. They are going up in the United States. They even flipped over zero in Europe, but not in... So that means you can borrow in yen, and you've made all this. You've made 20 yen, 20% if you're a big player, and there's plenty of them, right? 20%, they don't give a crap if they're going to buy like other assets with it, be it commodities, killed it. Look at this. So that's the real world of the big boys out there. So that's your big one. The euro is your other big one. So the US dollar, no surprise with what's going on with the Ukraine, right? And interest rate spreads. So remember, right? Ukraine is part of Russia. Europe and Ukraine are part of Europe. That's what I was trying to say. So there's that geopolitical risk and all that. But the other big thing is interest rates. So so people make the other misconception that the Federal Reserve controls interest rates. The market controls interest rates. So I think you mentioned this today, Madavi. We're already at 2.7, right? On the 10. We're already at 2.4 on that too. And what is the Fed funds? Right. So the currency, I said to everyone a long time ago, watch the currency market. They're your best. Watch the bond market. They're your best. Don't watch and dribblers try their hand at things like this. They just get destroyed. Because the reason I'm trying to point out is it's made up of a number of different currencies, right? We looked at all... So the other thing, if you're trading Europe, you got to know the euro pound. Look at this pattern. This is the pound versus Europe, right?
Hey, May, what would you recommend for somebody to learn the basic, all you really need to know, the dummies book for what you're talking about? Because it can be way, way overwhelming, and it's very expansive when you start getting into these pair trades and FX trading.
Well, most of it's common sense, but what you got to do is throw out your biases. So currencies in particular. So if you're American or Australian or Canadian or Iranian, or if you're or Europe or England or different parts of Europe, you've grown up with different environments, right? Different concepts and economics. And so for a good example is this, right? What you value in one nation may be very different to another nation. So if we looked at something like, let's look at this is obviously your ultimate, the Turkish lira is a good example of worthlessness, but the value that we consider of living in Istanbul is very different to if you're a really entitled person living on the dole in New York and shits on everyone in the world because you're better, even though you're totally on government subsistence. Oh, yes, you are. So you don't think you are, but yes, you are. So what he values and this guy values, so this currency destroyed, if you're an international investor seeking higher interest rates. So that's what you got to work out, what makes up a currency's value, right? Their high interest rates, it doesn't matter if you're getting 8% and you lose 300%. So look what happened. 8 to 18. Erdogan, who we all know is a bit of a nut job, right? He panicked, threatened. So now, because he knew what was going on, the inflation's unreal. So inflation's a reality that they all laughed at in the same person in New York. But, look what they're paying in Zimbabwe or Turkey. But look at the currency. This is the currency. This move here happened because he guaranteed it to the local people. And that's why. How they're going to pay for it's another thing. Turkey isn't like a country that has all their own exports and imports and stuff. A good example. So a country like this. So look at that. That's why there's so much corruption there and trade and all that sort of stuff. We all know about that. So, but look at this. So this is one extreme value. If we look at the yen's very conservative population, very domestic. By them weakening the yen, it makes their exports very cheap overseas, right? By weakening keeping the Aussie dollar lower, when they control the majority of world's commodities, makes them cheaper. So these guys, right, selling. So a lot of it's just logical, right? If you want it to be. But the important thing is, if you put what I'm trying to show you is a confident populace doesn't value the value of their currency as meaningful for a sign of prestige, right? So that's one thing. So you got to get rid of all those biases and stuff, right? It's really just a measure, and you know your Bitcoin backwards. These are also the same thing. They're a measure of doing business, right? And they adjust according to it. So what's bizarre to me with something like Bitcoin, this is why I have serious doubts about it. If it's so expensive to get into it, and you got these other costs of doing business, it really limits how much it can be used, right? And that's it. So, for example, if we take gold is still a currency, right? So I can buy and sell gold. If I'm Putin and I'm using gold, say, to get around sanctions, and if it's a friendly person, let's say, call them India, that wants to buy their oil at 70% off, and I just give gold, there's no transaction costs, right? Other than, shipping the gold if they want physical delivery.
A lot of their gold, or they actually put a freeze on not only their bank accounts, but their gold as well.
Yeah. So if they can't get it to them, then you're shit out of luck, right? But I'm just using that as an example of I'm just trying to get the point across that they're really transactional value. Then you have other values. Holding value is determined by interest rates. The reason the US dollar's been going up is because you get more money in your interest. And the reason dollar yen, what we're looking at, is so cheap. So if I borrow it, if I borrowed here at 0%, if I'm a big bank, at minus 0.5%, it was here, right? Or minus a quarter. If I borrowed it at 103, $100, right? I'm getting paid to own the thing. Same as on the euro. If I borrowed, and we'll go back through that again, I pay it back at 125. Just say tomorrow, I go, you know what? I'm just going to pay that loan back. It's 25% less I have to pay it back. Plus I got paid 0.25% for the whole year and a half to do it, right? Then I took this money and bought gold or oil, or let's not say it wouldn't be gold, but say it's oil or stocks or oil stocks. Look what you've made. This is real. And I know plenty of punters that did this. I know plenty of punters, maybe related to a few, that bought the crap out of the Aussie here. Right? Look at this. 56, bought commodities with it and commodity stocks. Right? Look at that. So that's proper investing. That's investing, trading, sensible cyclical investing. Now, the dribbler is going to tell you it's the end of the world here. He's going to tell you to buy iron ore here, right? So, common sense. Like we did a few trades in this room on things like FCX is a good example of that. So the currency's a huge thing in commodities, trading money, and I envisage at some point, whether it be Bitcoin. So already this is all traded digitally anyway. Let's be real, it's all done. Press a button, bang, on the exchanges. It's settlement. Hell, you get sued in a court of law. All that's done digitally, right? All your documents. But in Syria, why do I know that? Anyway, so the reality is it's all digital anyway.
Is there something else I can help with?
Sorry, Siri is interrupting. Did I answer any of your questions there? And here's another good one. So Euro Yen is Japan versus Euro. This goes up and down with speculation as well. So the point I was trying to make was all that. I think we covered all the majors. Now, here's a good example with, and Madavi could speak well to this. So here's a country with nothing. Turkey, other than they're a trading vehicle pretty much, right? So if we compare, I don't have the Iranian currency here, but Iran got hit by sanctions. But the difference is they're self-sufficient in energy and a lot of food, right? So they don't really, if I'm a domestic, I don't really care what the currency does because I'm self-sufficient in many things. Same with Aussie. If I'm locked in because of COVID, I don't really care what my currency is because they're self-sufficient on a lot of this stuff that you need. Energy, food, etc. So that's what you need if you want to if you want to be a prepper, you need energy, you need food. So it's all relevant, your currency, to your domestic people is the point, right?
And a good shotgun and a four-wheel drive.
And some people are banned from singing. We talked about that. That's in your contract. It says. So while we're on commodities, I guess we looked at energy. Let's look at gold. Now I mentioned this the other day. So gold is the currency, really, right? And so eventually Bitcoin will become a currency. Or there'll be, if it's not Bitcoin, there'll be something. Ethereum maybe merge. Maybe it's central bank currencies. Who knows? But gold is holding up with the dollar. We just looked at the dollar going up, right? Look at that yen. It's mirroring it. So that's a very strong positive. It also tells you that people who don't want to be in the yen or the US dollar or the Aussie dollar or Bitcoin, whatever it is, are in gold. Just because it's not flying up like this doesn't mean people aren't accumulating or holding it, right?
Every wealthy person I know right now is buying gold. And a lot of people say, don't buy gold. You can't even get gold a lot of times, right?
Yeah. Well, Timo, it's because you've buried it all in your backyard. Oh, shit, don't give me your address, sorry. But, well, silver's, here's the other one I want to look at. So what snuck up, if we looked at this last week, silver couldn't get back up here, right? So silver's known as poor man's gold. Not fool's gold, that's the rock, what do we call that? For mica? What's the proper word for fool's gold?
A lot of silver's made in a lot of the semiconductors, and since semiconductors...
Well, yeah, so that's an industrial thing, but the reason it's moving is because of store of wealth, right now, in the past week. So keep an eye on that. So copper is the same thing. So copper, whilst an industrial metal, which silver is to it, so silver's considered precious metal, but as Johnny just said, there's industrial capabilities. So a lot of people accumulate copper for the same reason. So you can see that trying to go up.
Probably going to be the most sought after pretty soon.
Yeah, well then you got all your rare. So here's the other thing with the whole ESG thing and EV. They just bullshit. They don't look past what they're told. I mean, you can say the same about oil and gas people too. Really anything. But the bottom line is, for such a massive shift, you need lithium, you need copper, you need a lot of the other rare earths, those different rare earth metals. Now, I will bring Elon up again. There's a plethora of, that's the word of the day, by the way, a plethora of lithium deposits around the world, in Australia, in Russia, in Afghanistan, US, Canada. There's just a lot of it. But it's really dirty to mine and it's hard to mine. So you got to get ahead of it. So he actually said Tesla's going to look at doing their own mining. There was that stock LITM last week that we had a bit of a punter's play for a cup 20 cents or something. But so same thing with all these other things. The trouble is, it's nice to say no inflation, no pollution, no this, save the planet, all this. Well, just think how dirty that is to your planet. And don't forget, what runs electricity? The majority is coal, natural gas, all these other things. But I forgot coal's... Now natural gas is clean, right? Nothing changed, but classification, politics when it's convenient. Anyway, we digress. So what other commodities? You wanted to talk about wheat earlier. So wheat, this little pump on wheat last week, this was a really good fundamental one. It's not a lot on this ETF. But what happened was the port in Beirut received, in Lebanon, used to be known as the Paris of the Middle East back in the day, right? All the movie stars went there. Anyway, they got their last supply of wheat from the Ukraine. Remember, Ukraine's the biggest of this stuff, one of the biggest. And it was wet. Can you believe that? So it's next to useless. So you can't. So that's this pop in it. So it undermines that there's a shortage of wheat. Now, a lot of these cultures, wheats are cheap. It's like corn from Mexico. It's a cheap form of sustenance, part of a diet. And these are traditional diets changing it. So whilst we may not eat a lot of bread, certain things do. So that you can see that in the wheat price here. Corn, if those remember in Texas, in particular, those that back in 2008, this is a 60-minute corn, the ETF. That's gone from C712 to 74. If you remember back in 2008, it's a huge part of the diet down there in Mexico. But it's also a big part of ethanol, which again is another energy. So, right? So these things are all real, affected by these policies. Soya beans. So a lot of people, they go, I don't eat soya beans. I don't eat edamame at a sushi restaurant. Oh, okay. So what the big reason soya beans is relevant, it's a massive feedstock for livestock, amongst other things, right? So look at that. This is also used for inflation. So let's look at aluminium or aluminum, which we use as our core here. That has been, so it hit that big high at 97. That was a heck of a good short, but it was scary. So it didn't do much. Remember that one? Did it again. So again, dribblers buy, punters sell, traders sell. Investors have made their decision a long time ago to be invested in this sort of stuff. So look at these spikes. So be very careful. And it's all good if you don't trade these, to put it on paper on something like bloody FibTwit. You got to get in and out of it at these levels. In reality, you got to be pretty seasoned, right? And you can be seasoned and it's hard, right? We've traded this stuff, right, boys? And it's not easy. So anyway, look at this big corrective wave. So this is aluminium or aluminum, which is used heavily in industry. And a lot of these are affected. So here's the other thing. A lot of these are going to be, if they haven't already, will become gluts. So that's what happens in commodities. Those have been around enough, they all burst. And then shipping prices have all been coming down dramatically. As we know, BDI and the other indexes there too, Panamax, etc. So, yeah, and so these all fiddle into currencies too, boys. Because one of the big things of currencies is imports and exports and debt. You got to pay your debt via currency generally. So you might have, like I said, borrowed in yen. You got to pay for it in yen. Borrowed in dollars, pay for it in dollars. Anything? What else have we've covered pretty well everything, given we haven't done this for a while. The weekly or the daily. I think we covered anything. Anything else, lads?
No. Kill it.
Killed it. Done it. So just a few things you should probably read. So we had a really bad bond market today. Where is that fixed income? The whole report's got an F. And you can see why. There's a good article from the pit box there on Traders Community. Do yourself a favour, go read that. It'll explain why. There's everything to do with it. There's another one out tomorrow. You've got tomorrow. We were going to look at them, but we've kind of run out of time. So you got JP Morgan reporting tomorrow. So there's that bond auction. The other thing you want to do is go to inflation. Look at this little beauty. That's the CPI, 8.5%. So you reckon this isn't affecting people? Look at this little sentence right here. U.S. average hourly earnings, real average hourly earnings. So what that means is what you're getting and what you can spend it on. And what did Madavi just mention? Mortgage rates are up as well. So look at this. So you lost year on year 2.7%. So when you hear the dribbler come out of these politicians, oh yeah, they're dribblers. Make no mistake. Look at these. Hourly, 2.7. Weekly, 3. But these are negative numbers, punters.
What do you think about people that say you keep your money in cash right now?
Suckers.
Well, I'll just tell you this, mate. If you don't eat, you don't live in a house, you don't drive anywhere or want to stay cool or warm, you don't want to buy a car, there's no inflation. Fine. Look at these numbers. Food prices up 8.8% on the bloody month. On the month. You can sit here and be like that red-headed woman on TV that tries to tell you a story that I forget her name, but she works for Biden now. She's going to go work for MSNBC. She'll tell you, it's all because of Putin. I don't really care who it's because of. We all know. The reality is, it's happened. You paid 8.8% more for your food, the most since May 1981. You paid more for your energy, 32%. That's a third. Gasoline's up 48%. Fuel oil's up 70%. Oh, these are massive. Shelter's up 5%.
My haircut's up 50.
Yeah, heck, I told you about Freon. Freon, let's do that in percentages. 700%. Unbelievable. These are real things. Right? Real things. So anyone that's a bloody partisan politician fan, is an absolute fool in my opinion. You know, because they're blind. They're just blinded to it. Look at these charts. Unbloody believable. Food. Look at this stuff. I guess everyone's getting really thin, right? No one can live in a house. No one can drive a car.
That could be
Like camel, mate. Look good on camel.
Exactly. So here's a ray of hope that because of it, there's a lot of people hoping that this is the inflation peak. But I remind you, the war in the Ukraine is far from over. Supply chain bottlenecks still persist. And consumer demand remains elevated. We saw the other day, I think it was last week, they released the consumer debt numbers are way up, right? Yeah. Here's the sad thing. Those that should have been able to borrow 2.5%, which was everyone really, who already had a loan, most people weren't refinanced. That's the disgusting thing of this whole thing. Now they'll lend to you at 5% or whatever it is. So just think, if it had been anywhere near fair with these bankers that are constantly bailed out and it's your taxpayers' money, because there's only the taxpayers can get these loans, you couldn't. So that's just how messed up it is. It really is. So please think, people. Don't be blindly led down the garden path by dribblers giving advice. Dribblers being politicians. Just think for yourself. Common sense. Look at those numbers we just looked at. Scary, right? But yeah, so just don't eat. Everyone will be fit. Everyone will be skinny. Kathy Woods. I noticed Kathy Woods isn't overweight, so she looks after herself.
She's old. She'll do successions. Johnny, that's your wife. You gotta take care of her.
Synthetic hormone.
You know?
So on that note, we just did a little bit of reality world. And so anyway, back to trading. Use your charts, use all that. We know all that negative stuff, but I just showed you that dollar yen chart. Think what that's telling you. Think what that's telling you. You want to know what the boys are doing and the girls, the big boys and girls? That says it all right there, right? It should. And think back to what that means. Anyway, so tomorrow earnings season starts. So we'll be trading stocks after hours, more than likely. No, tomorrow we start off with JP Morgan, Delta, and BlackRock, which I know that Johnny's a major shareholder of BlackRock. He probably advises Mr. Fink there, does he? So,
Johnny just got a...
As the great Bon Scott once said, and we'll leave you this thought, lock up your back door, lock up your wives, lock up your daughters, and run for your lives. Great poet. Okay, we'll see everyone tomorrow.
Mate.
Yeah.
Johnny said something.
Johnny, what do you got, Johnny?
I was sitting here, I was thinking, I'm a guy listening to this show, and you're giving me all this great information. Thank you very much. What would you say a good start of a morning would be? Say it's your son. You say, hey, I'm teaching you the trade. Here are some basic things I think you should do as a regimen every morning. Put on the Yahoo Finance. Do you think they should look at? What is it that you would recommend? Because maybe we don't have that.
I would recommend looking at what we're trying to teach on this podcast, reviewing what's happened in the major markets, the true macro world. Don't just use the bloody world like the dribblers. So what's happened overall? Has there been a systematic? Because there really isn't big changes. So you know weekly what's happening.
Listen to your podcast and prepare for the day.
Yes, you want to do that. You want to have a good idea of what's coming on and what can affect. So the reason Madavi and I did well today, we took note of how the market reacted to Lel Brainard last week. It was really that simple. We were observant of what it moves markets and how the herd reacts, right? And we already knew the chart, the technical levels. So it's big looking. Don't be the sheep. The only people that like getting shorn is sheep, right? Because it makes them cooler. But people get fleeced all the time. There's a reason they're called the sheeple. So don't be part of the herd. So you want to be contrarian to the sense of your understanding what's going on. You don't do belligerently like it, right? So you know that. You know what. So what you want to be well aware of what is moving markets. Is it interest rates? Is it fear? Is it greed? Is it tech stocks if you're a stock? Is it energy? So all that you should already have. But you got to have a clear mind, right? So what I see on Twitter and stuff, it's just people cutting and pasting other people's stuff, same thing over and over. They don't know what they're talking. That's why we're kind of being on that mission. And when they hang crap on good people, you've got to not be there, and don't be there just because they make you feel good. And so it's not just the dribble. The dribblers are all there. So look at CNBC. They drag on these analysts telling you not to buy semis now. They should have been saying that 40% ago. And it was the same environment. So don't, what's the saying? Lambs get slaughtered. Pigs, what is it? Whatever it is. Pigs get slaughtered, lambs, I don't know. But anyway.
Hey, hogs go to heaven, pigs get slaughtered.
Yeah, that's it. So just remember all that. So you want to have a good basis, you want to know economics, and just remember, people expect to be a trader overnight. It's a long, hard lesson, like any profession. There's a big difference between a profession and a hobby. Look, they might let me operate on a farm, killing a sheep and cutting it up, right? There's a lot different to operating on your appendix on a human, right? Does that make any sense? So people expect and you got to do what's comfortable with you and all that. So what we have is a very regimented, simple way of doing things. And you've got to be able to let yourself have steam. So meditate in the morning, pray, go for a run, go for a swim, but clear your mind, however you want to do it. Eat well, be prepared, right? Your body to trade well is your mind. I mean, all that stuff's relevant. You got to have a clear mind. You got to be able to pound, and it's all mental at the end of the day. But if you got a trading plan, which is kind of what this is, showing a framework, then you're not surprised, right? And you will be surprised every now and then. You go, oh, shit, okay, I didn't see that coming, right? And you adjust. And how you adjust is how the market adjusts, because the market is always right, you know. And don't live in fear and don't live in greed. And that's, again, and don't listen to dribblers. Except for one reason, take the other side. Spoken by every great market maker right there. Am I wrong, Madavi? Anyway, oil, 101.41 at the end of the day. So let's leave with it.
100%.
So I think, any more questions, Johnny? Are we done?
No, I just wanted to, make sure, because I even have, a full schedule, and taking the time to hone your craft or listen to, think something, it's more than a one time listen to it, because we all have so many things going on in today's world. It's like you should really have to sometimes listen to things over and over and over. I can't tell you how many times
You got to quit ordering Teslas, Johnny.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, so...
I could be in the conversation is what I'm trying to say.
Right. And whatever technical analysis you're using, if you're using tech analysis, which I recommend as part of your plan, but not the be-all and end-all, mainly to promote discipline, right, and to see what the crowd's doing. Understand, so if you're using the stuff in Nova Wave, Ichimoku, Murray Map, median lines, understand the basis and understanding of those that created it. Not some dribbler trying to flog you a subscription or something. Look at how Ty Murray and W.D. Gann, what all that mathematical formulas were and probability. And I tell you this, the moment I see someone flogging a service and they're hanging crap on all that, I know it's bullshit. Because that's esoteric and that's real trading. If you just want to algo trade, that's a different thing. I'm all for that too. There's some really, really good algo systems. But most algorithms lose money. Go ask Goldman Sachs that. So in other words, understand, I'm a believer in esoteric because I believe you learn something new every day in trading and in life. And if you're going to be a good trader, you've got to like it. So you've got to find a system that works for you. Some things I don't like going near. Certain stocks I won't trade because I know it'll upset my balance, right?
Oh, your valves.
That too. But that's more to do with diet, right? So don't eat refried beans. I talked about that. But anyway, all notes are dropped. So they're all kind of serious. It's mental. Have a plan. Be in control. Don't get flustered. And some people, every now and then, I might go for months. I just don't want to trade, right? I just walk away from it.
Biden just took away your 80% lowers.
What was that?
Biden just made your lowers go away. Your 80% lowers. His new gun control act. He's going to save everybody.
Hey, I don't get what that means.
Did you see these new gun laws he tried to pass last night? He's going to free the world. He's going to save everybody.
What are the new gun laws?
I don't know. It's just, there's been so many gun laws, none of them work. So it's nonsense. Whatever those guys are doing doesn't work.
So, well, I will say this. He's been very, very good with his energy policy. That's been very successful.
His crime policy is a disaster, so is his gun policies.
The inflation policy has been very good, yeah.
Everything that guy touches, is going to be a disaster. So, go write some money to NRA or somebody, because that guy's going to fuck things up.
Okay. So,
one thing for sure, he knows how to do.
So,
don't mess with Joe, because if he goes, we have Camilla, and that's kind of stuff.
Oh, dude, Camilla, they're gonna throw her out of office. She won't last a day.
Oh boy, now you're getting me depressed. Now I gotta go.
Oh,
So-
man. Can you imagine?
Oh, yeah.
In office?
Why did oil do so?
Everybody out there should say a prayer for Joe, man. I'll tell you, he can't go down before the end of the term.
Okay, well, now we're turning into dribblers at the end of our session here. So we will love you and leave you. If you like us, if you like what you hear, if you got comments, questions, please don't hesitate. Anything that can only help your day. Good luck if you trade. Remember, it's earnings season, so markets will change a little bit. Keep an eye on liquidity if there's big players in it or if they're still out because of all the other things going on. There's still a lot of questions about margins and all that sort of stuff out there, particularly in commodities. So subscribe, share it, all that good stuff. We will catch you on the roundabout. Good luck, everyone. Have fun. Thanks, Johnny. Thanks, Madavi.
No problem.
And we'll
Joe's gonna
see you
say
later.
that.